Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and today we're taking a look at some of the best multi-tools that you can get your hands on right now. Let's check them out. Now before we dive into the actual picks today, I do have to say right out front, there's honestly almost no such thing as the best multi-tool, so I know I'm kind of contradicting the point of this video. But honestly, there's some really good brands out there, and as long as you pick something that has the tools that you want, the tools that you're going to use, honestly, that's the best multi-tool for you. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go through a range of kind of some different styles and sizes of the pliers-based multi-tools. Kind of the thing that you think about when you think of the classic Leatherman, which is the kind of the original here, invented by Tim Leatherman back in the day. We're going to avoid the things like most Swiss Army knives that are kind of pocket knives with extra tools. We've got these pliers-based tools instead. So we're avoiding the pocket knife multi-tool lineage a bit here. But what you're going to find is there's kind of essentially four big brands, I think, that dominate the space. And you'll see all of them here in the first segment in the full-size multi-tool. So I'm actually going to start by showing you the last multi-tool we're going to look at to kind of demonstrate a point here. This is the Leatherman Rebar, and it shares a form factor that's very similar to the original Leatherman tool. You've got these two arms that rotate open to reveal that nice pliers head on the inside, and you've got multiple tools that can be opened from inside the handle. That's kind of the classic form factor for the multi-tool. But kind of the next phase in evolution of the full-size multi-tool is rather than having to open up the tool to get to the implements inside, you'll see what you see here on the Leatherman Wave, where you actually have implements that can be accessed from outside the tool. And this may not have been the first to do it. I'm not actually quite sure if it was or not, but it certainly made the concept famous. And it's easy to see why. These guys are still made in the US. You've got two main blades that are locking as well as one hand opening from the outside of the blade. You've also got a nail file, or sorry, a standard tool file and a saw on the outside as well. Now you open these guys up and you'll see kind of a variant on the type of plier head you'll see on most of these tools. And they're a combination design that combine needle nose capability with kind of the jaws from a regular stub nose or snub nosed pair of pliers. You're also going to see some wire cutters here. These are actually replaceable bits as they wear out. You can swap them out for new ones. And this particular wave has a crimper built in as well, which is quite nice. Inside the tool, you've got a number of different implements, but I'm going to show you two specifically that are kind of most identified with Leatherman as a brand, and that's their replaceable bit drivers. You've got a small one here on the side, works really well for like eyeglasses and small electronics, and then you've got a standard style of bit here. I say standard, but it carries essentially a flattened bit, and there are expansion bits available for these. But the advantage of that, of course, is you're not just limited to the hard tools on the inside that it comes with. You have the opportunity to drive all kinds of different fasteners. Now, one of the notes on just kind of a nice way to use this standard bit driver, it does lock open here in the open position, and you can certainly use it with the tool completely folded. So you have a standard twist there with a pretty good amount of leverage actually, but if you want even more, simply rotate it so you've got a 90-degree bend on the joint here so you can get a little more leverage. And if you need a little more length or even a more classic screwdriver type feel, open it up all the way and you've got plenty there to work with. Now, as I mentioned, most of these full-size multi-tools are going to come with some kind of belt sheath because these aren't exactly pocket friendly. This particular wave comes with a nylon with Velcro on the front with the flap there. You've got a little bit of a separation on the inside. You can add some of the extra bit kits that are available, and you've got belt and molly capability on the back. Now I kind of like to think of the Wave as kind of the second generation of evolution from the classic Leatherman lineup, and this knife this multi-tool is kind of the next step beyond that. It's the new Leatherman Free, which has a pretty cool mechanism, and you're not going to see anything else like it right now on the market. And you've actually got sort of magnetic closure here. As you can see, there's not a lot of resistance as I move that around. And the advantage of that is once you open up that kind of magnetic hold with your finger, you can actually flip this open. And it makes it really easy to get it out of the belt sheath, do what you need to do, and then close it as well Takes a little bit of getting used to without having to use both hands, which can be really important if you kind of need to keep your hands on the thing as you're working on it. This guy is a little bit more expensive than the Wave. This particular free P4 comes in about $140, still made in the USA. You do have the outside accessible tools here as well. And what's nice is this is one where all of the tools are outside accessible. You can see there's nothing at all there on the inside. So you can get to all of it, and they all lock with the same mechanism here on the back. And rather than a typical liner lock, the nice thing about these is when you go to close it, you can keep your fingers out of the way of the blade edge. Something I always definitely appreciate. Now, I'm not going to go into every tool that every one of these multi-tools have because that would get a little repetitive and a little draggy, but you can always check out all the tools that are available on these models at the links below. Now, even though this does come with its own pocket clip, this is still pretty heavy for pocket carry, but they do still include a standard sheath. It's nylon in this case. You actually got a snap here rather than Velcro. It's got a pretty cool look to it as well, I think. And then just a standard or vertical belt loop on the back. All right, next up is the Victorinox SwissTool Spirit Plus. This particular one is one of the slightly higher end versions, comes in about $135. And here you have the classic Leatherman style pliers based multi-tool from kind of the classic Swiss Army knife maker, Victorinox. And very nicely put together. Some people really appreciate the fit and finish of these models very much. And on these, you do have just a standard flip open or a standard fold open, but all the tools here are accessible from the outside. And they started doing this even before Leatherman came out with their options, putting everything on the outside. Now, even though you can get to all those tools, they're not really designed to be one-hand openers. You can see it's just a classic style of nail nick opening that you might see on a typical Swiss Army knife. Locking mechanism, however, is outside accessible and lets you keep the fingers out of the way of the blade. Definite thumbs up for that. Now, one of the things I like about these Spirit tools are some of the extra options that are available with them. Here's the sheath here. It's a nice rugged nylon here, a bit of Velcro on the front. But you've got some extras designed to kind of maximize and expand the capability of the tool itself. For one thing, you can attach here to the outside of the tool, classic Victorinox corkscrew with the mini screwdriver there on the inside of the coil. So you get that if you're, one of the fun things about Swiss Army knives, you've always got that. These are really good for helping to untie knots as well, even if you don't plan on opening a wine bottle with them. You've also got versions that include some ratcheting tools, as well as just a standard kind of L-shaped driver here with standard quarter-inch bit drivers on either end and some included bits. Now, it doesn't actually incorporate or use the standard bit of the tool at all, but coming into the sheath, it does form an integrated part of the tool system, which is just also very nice. So next up, I want to talk about Gerber's original multiplier, which was another step along the evolution of making the classic original form factor of the Leatherman tool a bit more accessible or a bit more fast and easy to use. And they actually had a plier head that could be slid up in and out of the handle. Now, I don't have the multiplier here in front of me today because I think the best of this style that Gerber makes is now the Center-Drive Plus, US made, coming in about $125. Now, whereas the original multipliers had kind of toggles on both sides of the handles you had to actuate, but on the Center-Drive, you've only got that toggle on a single side. So it makes it very easy to push in and slide those plier heads out. And as you can see, there's even some spring tension pushing the handles open. So it's even easier to use on some of the fine control motions that you might be using on the front end of those needle nose, since you don't have to actually physically pull the jaws apart when you're ready. But especially when these are really nice and broken in, you can take it out, slide those jaws forward. See, this one's not very broken in, but very easy to do that very quickly in and out, makes the access very fast. Now, this guy features a combination of tools accessed from the inside as well as from the outside, including a standard locking blade with a typical liner lock here. The other real defining feature, apart from that mechanism or the opening action here, is you've got a nice long bit holder here that is locking as well. And you've got just your standard quarter-inch bit, and there's even some extras included in the sheath this comes with as well. Which this particular one has a leather sheath, and I didn't take it out of the plastic yet, but you've got a nice selection of extra bits there, again, included right in the sheath, ready to go. Now, the other real big player in the plier-based multi-tool segment is SOG. And with this particular model, this is their PowerAccess Assist, you get one of their defining features, and that is the compound leverage on the plier heads. Now you can see as I open this, you've essentially got some gears around the pivot, and these are actually going to allow you to apply more force than you could with just a standard pivot joint there, thanks to that force multiplier. Overall, it's a cool feature and just one of those defining kind of brand traits of the SOG multi-tools. The rest of the tool is also very well thought out. You've got outside accessible tools, 4 main locking implements and some more implements in the middle. And what's cool about these, they're assisted opening, which I'm not quite sure. I don't really think, or I can't really think of many others that do this apart from some of the SOG models out there. And also, you've got a nice locking mechanism that, again, allows you to keep that finger outside of the blade path. Very nice. On top of that, we've got another nice feature when the tool is closed. Here around the pivot, you've actually got a 1/4-inch bit driver built in. So you can snap or slap a bit in there, and you've got that other drive point. On top of that, you've got a nylon sheath, Velcro on the front, MOLLE on the back, and 2 compartments, as you can see, the main tool, and you've got a section with some of those extra bits that we were talking about. You've also got another 1/4-inch driver here, essentially, that can actually be used as just a normal 1/4-inch wrench, or you can put any of those extra bits in there, and that is actually going to fit on an implement in the handle. Snap it on there, and then you've got 2 positions for this. It kind of has a stop in the 90-degree section here, and that's not going to fold closed. You can, however, fold it fully open and use it in that position and just disengage it with the standard lock. Very nice feature that's also included. All right, now we're going to move on to some mid-sized or pocket-sized multi-tools. Things that aren't going to be quite as heavy. You could carry these on a belt sheath if you wanted to, but they're a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter, and more importantly, also come equipped with pocket clips, allowing you to carry them a bit more easily. And we're going to start with another Leatherman, the Skeletool model. Now these start around the $60 point, and those come with the standard blade steel, which is just a 420 HC. Good basic stuff, but this particular one, the CX, comes in about $80 and comes with a 154 cm blade steel. So a nice bump up in edge retention and performance. As you can see, it is also outside accessible, one-hand opening and locking with the liner lock right there. Now, one of the big differences you'll feel when using, especially the blade on this, is it's more balanced in the hand. You're not fighting extra weight from the tool itself, so it's more nimble and easier to use. Now, that's the only real outside accessible tool on the Skeletool models. You do have a carabiner here that also works as a bottle opener, and then when you open it up, you do have the Leatherman bit driver, and they actually lock in place too. There's a spare here in the side, so you've got 4 different driver heads right out of the gate, and fold it open, and you've got your nice plier heads there. Now, like I said, some of these are sheath carryable, and this one does come with a sheath. It's very similar to the Leatherman Free model, only it's black, but very easy to carry this in the pocket, and you've got a nicely integrated and thin pocket clip right here. Next up is the SOG PowerPint, which I really like. It's kind of a pint-sized powerhouse. I guess I figure out why they named it this. But it essentially distills a lot of what you would expect from that full-size multi-tool segment into a much more pocket-friendly size. And it's also a very affordable $50 right now. It weighs about the same as that Skeletool, and you've got that nice pocket clip and an even smaller footprint. So it is going to be nice and easy to pocket carry. You do have that compound leverage involved, just like the full-size tools, and you've got that bit driver integrated into the closed position as well. And then all the rest of the tools are outside accessible. You've got scissors, a few blades going on, and you've got locking capability as well. The lock on this, I will say, is a little bit finicky. You have to kind of open the plier jaws a little bit to get to the lock and push down and close it. So a little bit more going on there. You'll certainly get used to it though. But for packing, just like I said, a lot of functionality into some of the smallest spaces you can, there's definitely a lot here to recommend. All right, this next tool kind of sits in sort of a middle ground in terms of genre, because it's something a little bit different than a lot of these other pliers-based tools, and that's the SOG Baton series. And here it is in the case. really makes a good package to put like in a briefcase or a folio or any kind of EDC bag that you might not be carrying the tool on your belt. Although I will say it is possible because they do actually include a decent pocket clip here. It is a bit long, so you know, not all pockets will work with this. So this is why I'm lumping it in with kind of the mid-size pocket genre, but take it with a little bit of a grain of salt for sure. This particular one is the Q4 Advanced Wilderness Baton from SOG, comes in $62. And as you saw, as I was pulling it out of the case there, you kind of saw its defining characteristic, and that's the two halves of these handles pull apart to reveal the plier jaws there. And they are spring-loaded as well, so you get a little bit of that opening action. No compound leverage on this guy though. Be a little hard to make that kind of fold up like so. They do have a handful of small tools here on the outside, knife blade, a few others, and they do lock with the lock release here on the back. And then on this end, on this particular tool, you do have that nice 1/4-inch bit driver as well. And included in that case, which is nice leather, there are some extras too. All right, now we're gonna get down to the keychain sized tools, and in the more implemented versions of this genre, there's kind of two that come to mind as the natural competition. You've got the Leatherman Squirt and the Gerber Dime, and I'll go through each of these here. The Squirt comes in about $40. This is the PS4 model, which opens up to a nice pair of spring-loaded pliers. Now, there used to be some other options in this series where you could get like scissors, but we're down to just the pliers now, but it's still a phenomenal tool. The rest of the tools are all outside openable. You've got your blade, your file, scissors, and drivers built in. Again, very nice small footprint. Doesn't quite have as many tools as that PowerPint does, but you can definitely see the size difference there is very notable. Now, this particular knife is put together in the US, so the price is a little bit more than the Gerber Dime over here, which comes in about $20 right now. Just like the Leatherman, you open it up to get to the nice pair of pliers, spring-loaded as well. And then on the outside accessible tools, you've got mostly the same stuff, but you do have an interesting kind of package opener here, as well as a nice little bottle opener here on the end, which is kind of another similar take to the carabiner style bottle opener on that Skeletool from before. Obviously, you just don't get the carabiner on this guy. But as we all know, every good multi-tool needs a bottle opener, so there you go. But either one of these that you pick, it is a great way to have a lot of extra tools just right there with your keys. It's not going to take up too much extra space. There is another option from Leatherman, which is going to give me a good opportunity to segue into the next genre and the final genre for this video, and that is some travel-friendly multi-tools, and that is the Style PS model from Leatherman, coming in about $35 right now. Now, this guy definitely takes its cues from the styling of that Skeletool, as you can see. But what's nice about this is there's no knife blade on this. So it's a much better chance of you being able to take this with you when you go to travel. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and say that these are 100% TSA approved, because as with anything, it's always up to kind of whatever gate agent you go to, whether they're gonna let this through or not. So just keep that in mind when you're purchasing one of these tools for that intended purpose. But this is personally the tool I always like to make sure I have on me when I do go traveling, because there's a good bit of functionality even without the knife blade. From the outside, you can get to a nice pair of scissors, as well as a fingernail file with a small screwdriver at the tip, bottle opener with the carabiner gate, pair of tweezers, and that nice set of spring-loaded pliers. Now, I did say we were going to stay away from the pocket knife lineage of multi-tools, but when we're talking about travel-friendly multi-tools, I do have to bring one of those back into the fold, and that's the Victorinox Jetsetter. Comes in about 19 bucks, and it's the same size as the classic SD, but again, no knife blade on this implement. Got your toothpick and tweezers in classic Swiss Army fashion, nice pair of scissors, and then on the opposite side, you've got one of their multi-tool singular components. You've got a Phillips head here at the top, small wire stripper, and a can opener as well, or sorry, bottle opener as well. Now, if you're looking for travel friendliness, but you want something a bit more substantial than the keychain sized guys, I've got two more here at the end. The first is the SOG Sync series, specifically the Sync Traveler models. This is the Sync II Traveler, which comes in at about 60 bucks. and it's fairly substantial. There's a bit of weight here going on, and it's actually designed to be used a couple different ways. For one, you can actually use this as a belt buckle, which if you have to take your belt off going through security anyway, that's a real easy way to get that multi-tool out and in the open, so it's very easy for them to take a look at it if they need to. And it also comes with a nice wide clip here on the back, so you can put it on a certain types of pack straps if they have the right kind of strappage on them already, or carry it in your pocket. Although this particular one is the heavier model with some few extra layers of tools. And what's cool, especially if you have it as the belt buckle or strapped to another strap somewhere or strapped to your pack, is you don't have to take it all off to get to the tool. You just push the button right here. The whole unit comes right off of the base. Then you take that unit, fold it out, and you've got your pliers there. Now it's not quite the same style of needle nose heads that you see on some of these other tools, but you've still got that nice full-size set to put to use. Also on the underside of that pliers head, you've got another section of tool here which can either be used for certain types of crimping or gripping as well. As far as the other tools, you do not have to open the pliers to get to them. Just a few standard implements. Again, no knife blade going on here. You've got a pair of scissors, a few others, and all of these guys lock open from the back as well. Now, a quick note about these locks is they're a little bit less intuitive than you might think. So let me fold one out here. When it's open in the locked position, the way you actually unlock it is you have to move one of the other implements out in order to close them. And I know what you're thinking because I did it too. What if you open all of the implements? Well, the leading edge or the on one side, one of these implements is rides more of like on a slip joint. So as you push that down, it'll unlock the rest so you can actually put your tool away. And last but not least, we come to that Leatherman Rebar. Now there are standard versions of this that come with a knife blade, but Leatherman still does make a knifeless version, and this one comes in about $70. And it shares kind of that classic opening style of the original Leatherman tool. But one of the key things they did here that you didn't see on some of those originals, at least some of the edges on the plier handle here are rolled over so that if you really are gripping down on this, it's not as uncomfortable as some of those early models. It's not gonna match the comfort of the newer stuff like the Wave or the Free, however. But here is a lot of capability without a knife blade. I will say though, you do have a standard size saw on here, so this is one I'd be personally, just speaking as David C. Anderson, not as any kind of knife representative, I might be a little leery about taking this through security myself, but to have an option like this is nice, and it's certainly gonna come in useful other places too, where you may not need necessarily another knife blade, and certain job sites, as ill-advised as it may seem, are also gonna prohibit some of that sort of thing. So really nice option here, and comes with a more classic style of leather sheath. Nice, simple, to the point, without a lot of extra bulk. Well, that's all I've got time to show you today. As always, full details and everything will be at our website. There will be links below, and if you're wondering about kind of the tool complements of some of these, do go to those links. Like I said, if I were to go through every tool and every one of these, this would be a really bogged down video, and I really didn't want to get into that. Just wanted to give you an overview of some of the really good options across the range of different sizes and styles. So make sure to let me know your favorites down in the comments, and to get your hands on one, click the links in the description to take you over to KnifeCenter.com. Make sure you click the Knife Rewards link in our top right corner, but essentially if you're signed up, you're gonna get free money to spend on your next knife if you put your money down on one of these knives or multi-tools today. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center signing off. See you next time.